All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti, and this is episode 137. My guest tonight is Mandy Summers. We're talking about paranormal subject matter in comics, of which Mandy has a bunch in her comics. And I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit of paranormal stuff outside of comics, too. Before we bring her on, let me say hello to those of you in the chat. We've got Grape Nuka-Cola here. What's up, Grape Nuka-Cola? He's number one. Number one today. We got Ben in the house as well. What's up, Ben? Hope you're doing well. Dr. Mask is here. What's up, Doc? I saw what you posted there on Twitter, getting those comics of ours into that store. Out of Print Comics in East Greenbush, New York. Is it East Greenbush, New York? Am I remembering correctly? It was only 20 minutes ago. How could I forget? But thank you, man. Appreciate it. Abo Grizzly, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Ara is here. What's up, Ara? Hope you're doing good. We got White Alakazam in the house, too. What's up, White Alakazam? Beam Pad is here. How's it going, Beam Pad? Levi Skeen in the house as well. What's up? We got What Geeks Do Network here, too. How's it going, What Geeks Do Network? We also have Manny Corneo here. What's up, Manny? Hope you're doing well. We got Captain Nunchucks. Captain Nunchucks. I like that name. It's a good name. How's it going, Cap? Ronan is here, too. How's it going, Ronan? We got Michael Smith right there. Hope you're doing good, buddy. Charlie's in the house. Says, hey, y'all can stick around for a bit. Usually catch up later. Looking forward to another good show. Thank you so much, Charlie. Tippy Tail McKitty in the house as well. Says, Rudolph was on network TV last night. They still play that every year, which is great. Good. Holy Hand Grenades. How's it going, Holy Hand Grenades? Goody Two Shoes is here. What's up? Jetto Jaga in the house. How's it going? Kellraiser's here, too. What's up, Kellraiser? A bunch of you guys here for Mandy tonight. That's great. We got Sheldon here. What's up, Sheldon? Says maybe Pete is... well, maybe. There's no real maybe about it. I think I'm certifiable at this point. Being in comics for 17 years will do that to you. Shane O'Sullivan. How's it going, Shane? We also have, let's see here. Okay, I don't see anybody else. I see more conversation, but not anybody. And East Greenbush, I did remember it. There we go. Good. Out of Print Comics in East Greenbush. All right, so without further ado, let's bring her on, the lady of the hour, Miss Mandy Summers. What's up, Mandy?
You guys, what is up? And I got your postcard, Lovell. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ara sent you a postcard?
He did.
Wow.
Isn't that sweet?
That's very nice. Yeah, he's a sweet dude.
He is very sweet. So thank you. I loved it.
There you go. And hey, Matt, what's up? It says, Mandy surprised me with her writing skills. Her Jack the Ripper book blew me away. Can't wait to get number 2 in the mail. And what's the details on number 2 fulfillment on Jack the Ripper?
So I'm in fulfillment right now. I'm hoping to be done completely with fulfillment by like mid-January, like maybe the second week in January, in which case I'm going to pick up and start immediately into fulfillment of Gymshock. If I can actually get Gymshock here, I'm going to be simultaneously doing it if possible. So Gymshock's right now getting the last layer of colors done. Dale did the flats for me. So it's getting, it's over with my colorist right now. I'm finishing up just the last little bit of lettering on the last few pages. And then, yeah, I'm ready to go to print with that. I'm going to close it down and then go to print. And hopefully by mid-January, everybody will have their, all of the Jack the Rippers. And I'll be starting on fulfillment with Gymshock. So really excited.
Very nice. Very nice. And for those of you that might have missed any of those, we've got a bunch of links in the description of the show. And you also have something, we'll get this out of the way right now because it's urgent. It's urgent, right? It ends today, right? Today's the last day.
It is.
For your Christmas bundle.
It is.
Yeah, what's that about?
So, right now on my website, I'm running what I'm calling the Christmas bundle, and it is guaranteed to get to you guys by Christmas, which is why um tonight and then tomorrow I'm gonna leave it up tomorrow too, but by tomorrow night I'm taking it off the website so you guys won't be able to get it anymore. But it comes with 3 books that you guys can get. It's gonna come with Wart the Wizard Portal of Echoes, and that has a narwhal cover on it. And then it comes with the first Jack the Ripper with Peter's cover, and then also comes with the first Super Dead with Peter's cover. And then also as a little throw in, you get a trading card, like a hand drawn card by either me or Peter. So yeah, you're gonna get a card that some artwork,
Very nice.
like a sketch card. It's a sketch card. Is what I'm getting.
And Peter Gilmore, not me.
Right, Peter Gilmore. Yes, sorry.
In case someone's like, "Oh, he's doing that with Mandy too." No. Peter Gilmore, very talented dude over across the pond, as they say
Yes.
in the UK.
Yes. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you can get all of that, and then it's guaranteed to get there by Christmas. You guys will have all ages book, and then 2 adult books that you guys can read, and a sketch card. So
Very nice, man. So that ends today.
yeah,
That's it. Tomorrow
tomorrow it's going to be done. I'm going to leave it up for tomorrow, just a little bit tomorrow, and then I'm going to, I'm going to bring it down.
Wow. Okay. Well, very nice, everybody. If you haven't gotten yours yet and you're interested in doing so, we got the description has that link, so check it out. We got Ruby Jade here too. What's up, Ruby Jade? And Holy Hand Grenades wants to know why aren't I doing something? I'm busy. Holy smokes! There's only so many hours in the day. Maybe one day, but holy hand grenades indeed. Anyway, okay. So there's you got a lot going on. You got a lot of books that feature this subject matter. We kind of touched upon it a little bit when you were on here 30 or 40 episodes ago or something like that.
Seems right.
Seems right,
like maybe you do a lot of it.
I do almost every day. So
yeah.
It's not as long ago as it seems. I think it's maybe a month and a half ago. Or something.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
So which books of yours feature paranormal subject matter?
So obviously Jack the Ripper does, and Super Dead are my main 2 that feature more of paranormal stuff. With Jack the Ripper, you have vampires, obviously, and then with the Super Dead, it's kind of trying to think of how to describe it, because he's not really like he can summon the dead, so he's summoning dead. He himself is not dead. Devour's not dead, but his powers are very dark, so he's able to summon the dead. So.
Oh, okay, interesting. I thought he was like a zombie superhero, like a resurrected.
He's not technically. So the story of Devour is when he originally. He was a good superhero, like kind of more like Superman, where he loved the city. He just loved protecting people. He was a good guy. But during a fight with a very dark villain, he crushed the artifact that was around his neck, like a soul stone that he was wearing. Yeah, so, and that warped him, and he kind of absorbed, like it killed what he was. It killed Captain Valor, and from that came Devour. So now he's just like insanely crazy, and yeah, all of his powers, where they used to be more on the good side of more like Superman type powers, are now like very like necromancer type powers. Like,
okay.
So yeah, so he's not technically dead, but he's pretty dead. So I mean, he's super dead. He's super dead, right? So yeah, he's not technically
he's not
dead.
Technically dead. He's not technically alive.
Yeah, he's like mostly dead.
He's like mostly dead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I could relate. I mean, I've worked retail before.
Right at Christmas time, you are mostly
Yeah,
dead.
exactly. You're walking between worlds.
You are. You are. You're no longer on the side of good. You're in the, I don't know, like the conundrum of
Yeah, life is just happening to you at that point.
right.
You know, you're like, okay, yeah, Merry
Yeah,
Christmas.
you're in the darkness at that point. It's yeah, happy holidays,
Oh man, oh man. All right. So, what is what has stemmed your interest into that? What kind of kicked that off? Because I noticed some people aren't really into any of that sort of subject matter, and then some people are like really into it. There seems to be like no real in between of like the way your character is not really dead. There doesn't really seem to be people who are like, I'm kind of into the paranormal. There's people who are like they're really into it, and then
Mhm.
there's people who just don't care for it at all. So
Right.
what kind of kicked that interest off for you?
So I've always like ghosts have always like fascinated me, and then like aliens. I mean, all of that stuff has just always kind of fascinated me because is it real? Is it not real? It's I don't know. It's ever since I was a kid, it has fascinated me. The fact that, there's things in this world that you can't touch and you can't, but they're they might be there, they might not be there. Plus, ghosts used to scare the crap out of me. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but the chat knows what I'm talking about. Not so much anymore. Ghosts don't scare me. I like me some ghosts. But at one point, like Halloween was always my favorite, my favorite holiday were the witches and the black cats and just, I don't know, there's something about like dark magic that's, kind of cool to me. Like, and you don't really know if it's real or not. I mean, some people will swear up and down that, ghosts exist, aliens exist, we are not alone. I mean, they were in Salem, they were burning witches and stuff like
Well, I
that.
know I
So,
know more people who've had paranormal experiences that have seen bears. I mean, does that
right?
mean that bears don't exist?
Exactly. I mean, I personally have had a little bit of a paranormal experience. So, I tend to believe that they're real. So,
There's got to be something to it, and obviously not all of it. Not every single person. I think some people are telling stories to get attention and whatnot, or
of
they're just
course.
unfortunately a little crazy. But there's a lot of this stuff for many years, thousands
It's
of
right,
years.
it's too much and goes back so far that you can't believe that none of it's real, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's like a part of history at this point. Like, people have been talking about, paranormal stuff since they were doing like hieroglyphics on the cave walls and stuff. I mean, so it's got to be some truth to it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just one of those we don't know. We don't know, but there's got to be something to it if we're talking about it
So
still.
did I hear you correctly that you said you had an
I
experience?
I did. I had a ghostly experience.
Would you care to
Yes,
detail that?
yes. Okay, all right, people think I'm crazy when I tell this story, but this is the perfect place
I
to tell it.
promise I won't think you're crazy.
Okay, so most of you guys in the chat know that I am from Alabama. So in Alabama, we have what's called Mount Cheaha, and it is the highest point in Alabama. So my sister used to live up in like on Mount Cheaha, right? And she had like this trailer that she was renting out, and I was like 18. So she was gonna pay the guy that was renting it had moved out. So she was gonna pay me like $300 to go and clean it and get it ready for her to show to get somebody else moved in. So I'm driving down the road. Now it's nighttime. It's about 8 o'clock at night. Pitch, I mean, clear, just absolutely. And there's no, let me keep in mind, I'm out in the country. It's up in the mountains, but it's country. There's no street lights. It's dark, right? All of a sudden, I get like in this fog, this like haze, and you can't see anything. And it came out of nowhere. It's like I'm driving straight through a cloud. I start now running parallel to the road is a train track. So I can hear a train coming, which is, I don't know if it's usual or not. I don't know if that track is ran a lot, but I hear a train and I'm like, oh, okay, train's coming. Don't think anything about it. It gets louder and louder and louder. I can start to feel the road vibrating. It's going past me now so fast that my hair is blowing from it. Like I have my window down, but I'm driving really slow because I'm in fog. I can't see crap. So it starts blowing my hair and there's no train. Like I'm literally like this far from the track.
You had a ghost train experience?
A ghost train, and look, it just stops, right? The noise, the wind, all of it, the vibration, it stops, and then there's 3 giant pounds on like the roof of my car. And I'm just like,
when was this?
I was like 18, so it's been quite. I won't go up on Cheehaw Mountain at night anymore, like at all. So I don't know. There's no reason. Like granted, it was really foggy, but I could still see the train track. That's how close it runs to the road I was on. I could see the train track, and there was nothing on that track. Nothing. But everything else was there. The sounds, the vibration, the wind from it, and it was going fast. Like a lot faster than what a train goes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, whatever it was, and then like I said, it just boom stops. The pounding on the car, and then I'm not joking. Like 30 seconds later, the fog clears, and there's no more fog, and it's clear again. And I'm just like, I gotta get off this mountain.
Mountains have a lot of history and stories about them. Like there's all kinds of weird stuff that people report on and near mountains, and then ghost train incidences. That's an old thing.
It was creepy. It was so creepy. And like I was up there worried about like I'm gonna end up at Leatherface's house. You know, you out there in the mountains, it's like some hills have eyes top stuff. I wasn't expecting a ghost train. But that's what I got, was a weird ghost train. But like I said, still to this day, I will not go up on Mount Cheehaw if it's nighttime. I don't go up there.
Looks like we have a non-believer in the chat. What's up, Shane? Says there are explanations for everything that feels eerie. I agree. See, that's the part where, for me, paranormal stuff, and people will go, well, back in the day, they just didn't know about a lot of things, and they didn't know how to explain them properly. And yes, that's true for a lot of it. Yeah, sure. And there are still things that happen to this day that we just can't explain yet.
Exactly.
You know, so everything is energy. So maybe Mandy was having some kind of, she experienced some kind of residual energy, some kind of something that had occurred. Everything creates an impact. Everything has energy. There is an explanation for everything. It's just stuff that we might think is metaphysical now, that's magic, that's paranormal, that's unexplainable. Maybe in 500 years, it's just mundane. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that thing, we know what that is. We know why it does that. You know, so that's the interesting part to me, is that there's stuff that today, if you went back in time and you showed someone 200 years ago your cell phone, you know, they'd be like, burn the witch.
Right? Yeah. And like a lot of the things that we get, like where they thought that the river was turning red with blood, you know, now we know that it was a fungus that was within the water. And you know, they thought that, you know, we now know there's a lot of explanations for a lot of this, you know, like the plague stuff and all of that. We do know that there is, you know, we know a scientific reason for it. Now, if somebody can give me a scientific reason for why that ghost train was there.
Yeah, we can hypothesize about it right now, but, you know, even that could be completely wrong by the time they figure out exactly why that is what it is and what's occurring and whatever. So that's what's interesting to me about it, because it really is. It's like, okay, it can all be explained, and it probably will one day. But just like everything else, it depends whenever you're living in the time frame you're living in. That's kind of all we really have know and experience based on what's happened
Mhm.
before. So if you're living 500 years from now, you're going to look back at some of the stuff we're doing today and be like, wow, what a bunch of idiots these guys were. Or
Right?
maybe it all goes to hell and it's like dark ages all over again, and they're going to wonder how the heck was that civilization so advanced.
Right. I think we're looking more towards that at this point, don't you?
Well, it's happened other times in the past,
Exactly.
where they were like,
Exactly.
that civilization must have been way more advanced than
Right.
the one that came later on. But how's that possible?
Mhm.
Even when I was a kid, I had a hard time understanding for a while about medieval times, as
Mhm.
opposed to like ancient Rome and ancient Egypt, because they seem so much more advanced, even though that was supposed to be like 1,000 or so years earlier.
Beforehand.
And I'm
Right.
thinking, like, how's that possible?
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's because of a lot of different things that happened that
Mhm.
made it so that people just didn't know much about certain things anymore that led
Right.
to what that was. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how history can work.
It is, and like, who was it? Manny in the chat talking about the Bermuda Triangle. Like that's we still don't know. I actually just watched a documentary on the Bermuda Triangle not too long ago, trying to figure out like what happened to all those ships. Like what happened? So, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's still even after the end of this like 4 part, hour a piece documentary, they still came back to like,
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd love a mundane explanation for everything that's seemingly unexplainable.
mm-hmm.
For
Yeah,
all of
but
that.
we
Just that'd be great. Figure it out. Let us know. Because until then,
right.
people are gonna be like, something weird. It's too much of a
Exactly.
coincidence.
Exactly. Like how the pyramids were built. Where is it? Was it aliens? I mean, because that's what people are debating now
Or
is
an advanced civilization taught
an
like
advanced
another civilization,
civilization.
and
Exactly. Because
because the
it's
more recent pyramids too are crappier compared to the older
the
pyramids.
older ones. Exactly. So it's like it's yeah, there's so much in this world that is unexplained. And that's what makes, paranormal stuff so interesting because it is unexplained. You can kind of it's something to think about. You know what I mean? It gives you so many different topics that you could just go on for days to take your mind off everything else. Is what's going on with that Bermuda Triangle over there? Where them ships go? You know what I mean? And it's you'll probably never figure it out, but I mean it's still kind of cool to try to come up with theories on
Yeah.
why. So yeah.
If anything, too, I mean, I hope we never lose that as people. We never
Right?
lose that curiosity, and then we can almost start making up our own explanations. Because if anything, that sounds a lot like creating a story.
It does,
That's
right?
storytelling.
Exactly.
So it's interesting how that works out, and that's why, of course, it also is like you hear certain stories and you're like, I don't know if I can believe that. I believe that you believe it. I believe that it happened to you and you've experienced it. But and then someone will have their own experience, and then they're like, oh crap, things
Right?
are weird.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now I'm sure you're the same. I've heard some stories that I've thought, oh, this person's nuts. That didn't happen. They're totally this is a wackadoo over here. So I've heard, in the South we embellish stories a lot. It's a very big Southern trait to just embellish a story. I've heard some whoppers. I've heard some that I know for a fact that did not happen, or you making it up. But people say the same thing when I tell them about my ghost train. They're like, especially people that lived around, Cheehaw is not really known. I mean, granted, there's a lot of Indian lore in Alabama. You know what I mean? Because I think they're the Blackfoot or whatever. We had a lot of Indian tribes here, so there's a lot of lore that comes from that. But at the same time, Cheehaw is not really known to be like ghostly, to my knowledge. Like I don't know, it's just like every town has like a crybaby bridge where you can hear the baby crying and you fart. I mean that's like every town ever. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, There's a lot of weird things that happen out there. Brian says he's looking, I guess, for the spelling. I think it's
Uh,
CHEE, right?
CHEA.
EA. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Indian name. So most places in Alabama are spelled really weird. Uh, so yeah, it's CHEA.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's but yeah, it's the highest point in Alabama. So right there at the foothills of the Appalachian, or I think it's Appalachian. I think
Yeah, that sounds about right. Running
seems
down
right.
to there.
Seems right to me.
So
So
have you brought in terms of your stories? Have you brought in any other kinds of paranormal history or anything like that? I know you have Jack the Ripper
yes,
with
and
that book.
Jack the Ripper does actually because Peter came to me with the idea of Jack the Ripper and brought a lot of paranormal stuff that I had never heard of. So, we all know the story of Dracula, we know all of that. But he brought in a new vampire that I had no idea. So apparently back in the 70s, and he remembers seeing it on the news when he was younger. There was they literally had news cameras out there. So there was a place in Highgate Cemetery,
Yep.
and in that cemetery, a lot of really weird things were happening. Like a girl ended up, I think, decapitated outside one of the crypts. There was just all kind, and so they assumed automatically, I guess, that it could only be explained by the Highgate vampire. There must be a vampire doing it, just because of the strange paranormal things that were happening. So when we did Jack the Ripper, that's more what we focused on was the Highgate vampire and the lore behind him, while at the same time focusing on the lore of Jack the Ripper, who, even though he was a real person, is still one of the most heavily debated, probably serial killers ever known. I mean, we're still this what took place in 1888, and we're still talking about him today. So we were
Yeah.
able to take the Highgate vampire and add him into what that's why Jack the Ripper was doing that, is because the Highgate vampire was turning these girls into vampires. And what's a better place to have like a vampire than a brothel? You know what I mean? There's plenty of blood. Nobody's really going to be looking for these girls that
Yeah.
much.
Plenty
You
of people
know,
that no one really seems to care about.
Right, right. So it was like, and they're able to feed pretty well within the brothels and stuff like that. So it was like the underbelly of England at the time, were the brothels. So we were able to take the Highgate vampire and the lore from him and just really build up on that with Jack the Ripper, which made it really fun and really really cool. So yeah, it was pretty fun. And somebody said it's Kanye West he was a time traveling Jack the Ripper.
Let's hope Kanye West doesn't discover how to time travel.
Oh Lord, help us! You ever seen that movie Black Knight? It's
Yeah.
really funny. It's funny. That would be like Kanye West if he
Oh my
went back in
lord.
time.
That's with Martin Lawrence, right? That movie.
Yes, yeah,
And yes, I know World Comics Review. I know that Jack the Ripper wasn't paranormal. I'm talking about Mandy's book has paranormal elements
it
to
does.
it.
It
Good
Yes, it
grief.
does. We turned Jack the Ripper into a actual vampire hunter, and that being the explanation for why he was, murdering people, or murdering these women, basically, was because they were vampires. So, he was inflicted himself by a vampire. So he's trying to figure out what's happening. Is there a cure? Is there a way he can stop the vampirism from fully taking over, like to the point that he's got himself hooked up to a little homemade IV where he's pumping new blood into himself to try to keep himself, human enough to, because the Highgate vampire speaks to him in his head, like he's in his head. So he's trying to keep himself, you know, human until he
Mm,
can figure out how to fix it. So, yeah.
interesting. I didn't know it was that tied into the Highgate vampire. That whole thing was it's like a mass hysteria when that
It
was going
was.
on.
Yes, it was. They had vampire hunters out there. They had priests out there trying to. No, it was like, and I had never even heard of it until, Peter mentioned it to me, and I was, we both decided what a cool way to, because England is so. I mean, I love America. I'm so thankful that I was born in America, but England itself has such a rich history. Like, it's so interesting. Theirs goes back, ours doesn't start quite as early on as, what England's does. So their history is just really interesting to me, like, very, because it's just so rich. And yeah, as soon as Peter told me that, I was like, that is awesome, and we have to do this. Yeah, no, we have to do this. So it was really cool to take that little piece of lore and add it to Jack the Ripper as to the why. Because, it's always kind of, why would he do that? Why? I mean, he's crazy. We know from the letter he wrote the police, Jack was crazy, right? But it was cool to put a twist on it that maybe he wasn't quite as crazy as, everybody, of course, every time the police would show up, they thought it was Jack, when in reality it's the vampires murdering these women, not necessarily Jack. So it's a cool twist on the story.
Yeah, yeah. And you bring up a good point, but at the same time too, I'm always thinking, it's very strange how different cultures, different places across the world all have very similar things. So even
Yeah.
though England has a ton of folklore and a ton of stories and everything else too, a lot of the natives, the indigenous from here, and
Mm-hmm.
and who knows who was here, like that's the thing, right? When you say native, I'm always like, no one refers to whoever's over in Europe as a native.
Right. Right.
And everyone everywhere, we have to really understand this. Everyone everywhere, we don't know who the heck the native, like if you trace it all the way back, because
Mhm.
everyone moved around, everyone invaded everywhere, everyone conquered everything, and you just kept moving around and doing that over and over again in a search for
Exactly.
stability and food and that
Hmm.
kind of a thing. So when I'm talking about indigenous and native, I'm talking at least about what we know it to be
Hmm.
before America was colonized and whatnot. But they have so many stories. They have so many myths and folklore and everything else. And you look at that, and you can look at every single thing established everywhere across the earth and go, why do they all have so many things in common? What are they all seeing? Why are they all thinking this? Why are they all
Is
coming up with like the same things and then putting different words on it? And that's
exactly.
interesting to me.
It is right, exactly, because it's not. I mean, you can go to Africa, and there's lore about vampires. I mean, there's not really anywhere in the world, and I mean, not like this is way before computers were invented. This is just they. I mean, there has to be something to it, right? Something. I mean, to where every country in the world has their version of a vampire. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, even if you go to places where cannibalism was a thing, like maybe not common, but they did practice cannibalism, they still have lore about vampires. They may not call them by the term vampires, but you read about it and that's a vampire they're describing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy how, like I said, there must be something to it. I mean, not necessarily saying vampires are running amok, but maybe they are. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe vampires are running amok.
maybe some of them, maybe like they were, because who knows how any of this, for if you go back long enough, who
Mhm.
knows what the hell existed on this planet, and either died off or maybe started hiding and getting smart, because if they were out in the open, they would get killed or whatever it would
Right,
be,
right,
you know. So they kind of went and subverted
right.
among the ranks. So
Which
that's
exactly, and I do like. I know that there's like a lot of different ways. Like some people believe in the vampire that can't go into the sunlight because it'll kill them immediately. Sunlight just kills them, right? I everybody in the chat is gonna be like, "Mandy, shut up." But seriously, like the I like the way that Stephanie Myers did Twilight. Not the sparkly, not that aspect of it, but the thought that maybe it's not because it'll kill them. Maybe they don't go out to the sunlight because there's something about them that would make them stand out to the point, you know what I mean? To where you would notice, man, something's wrong. That ain't
yeah.
right. You know what I mean? So
Like
I
that
do
dude last night, where was he? Where
right.
was that dude last night? He got glitter all over him.
Right, like again, not a fan of the glitter. Yeah, look at me, I'm sparkly. I didn't like that aspect of it,
No,
but it
baby, I didn't go anywhere. We just had a glitter party.
was a rave. But I do like that she put a little bit of a twist of it's not the sunlight. The sunlight won't kill them because I know. A lot of people don't agree with me on this. I like the
I get
idea.
what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like the idea that they are absolutely invulnerable. I like that idea that there are these, they're basically like, I don't know, like evil gods that are walking the planet with us and nothing can hurt. I mean, I buy the stake in the heart. I buy that. And I can even see why sunlight. I don't know. I just thought it was a cool little spin, not the glitter part, but just the idea that no, it really it's not going to kill them. Sunlight ain't going to kill them because it just seems so easy. You know what I mean? It seems so easy, but what if like it wasn't the sunlight that killed them, but it gave them away for what they really are, in which case people would know
Yeah, and that's
that
why
that
they would avoid being out in the sun and things like
right
that.
and
Yeah.
hide in the shadows in in the dark. But there's so many ways it's been done. We've got the old school, Dracula, where he can turn into like a fog or turn into a bat. So, I mean, I don't know. There's just so many different ways to do it, which again was really fun with Jack to sit there and try to, okay, so what can our vampire do? What does the Highgate vampire do? What can he do that's more than what his, I guess, minions can do? The women he's turning, what does he do that they don't, that makes it where, I mean, obviously he's the oldest, he's the beginner, he started the whole thing. But obviously his power is going to be greater. So what powers does he have that these ladies wouldn't have early on? So I don't know. I think there's so many different aspects that when you break it down, it's a really cool, trope to kind of play with the vampires, because there's so many different ways. I mean, even to the point where like, modern ones, it's the incisors right here that are sharp. But if you look at like the old school Dracula, it's the two front teeth. It's like those were the
Oh,
ones
you
that
mean the canine, and then old
yes,
school was the
yes.
incisors?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I mean, it's there's just so many different ways and things you can do with them. And then Jack, or yeah, Jack 2, we've actually introduced a new character because in the first one, it all happened in England. But at the end, he's headed towards Paris, Harry, right? So we created a new character where she's part vampire and part witch. So we have Contessa Duloc now, who is going to be helping Jack in the second book. But yeah, she's like a hybrid of half vampire, half witch. So she does some really cool, like, like out of body, like looking into like I'm drawing a blank right now. But she's looking into her like magic ball and then just her crystal ball and just freaks out. It's really cool. She was a really cool character to kind of play with to make a hybrid of a witch and a vampire. So she's casting spells and stuff, but she also likes to drink her some blood every once in a while. So
Well,
you know,
of course, when you're
right.
thirsty and there's no purple stuff for Sunny D.
Exactly. What's a nice goblet of, human blood? It's,
Yeah, why not?
what's it hurt, right? I mean, girls got to drink. So, but yeah, so Jack really does have a lot of paranormal stuff that we're putting into it. I hope at some point to maybe somehow get like some werewolf action in there too, just because the werewolves are another paranormal silver bullet, full moon, some really cool stuff you can do with those too. Oh,
Well,
thanks, Shane.
thank you, Shane. Appreciate that. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff because it's part of storytelling for as
Hmm.
long as human beings have been alive too, and it's inspired so much incredible storytelling. It's inspired me, it's inspired Manny, it's inspired thousands,
Hmm.
if not possibly millions, of people, even if they didn't publish their stories, just to tell some stories around the campfire, or to scare some kids, on Halloween night. All that stuff is so great, and it's just such a wonderful part of our culture as humans, as people.
Hmm.
Um, so I gotta tell you, it's interesting to me when you bring up something like the historical fiction element, when you put up something like Jack the Ripper,
Hmm.
because all I could think is the research involved and stuff like that. And I had done, it's not historical fiction, but I had done a lot of research with the Chair years
Hmm.
ago, and it's about death row and about a thing called death row phenomenon, where people who, and it's similar to institutions and asylums, where even if you put someone that was there that wasn't, and a lot of people were not mentally ill that were put in asylums. There are various reasons why people get
Right.
put into asylums, but they would slowly lose their minds and go insane.
Right.
So yeah, and it was kind of difficult taking that deep dive to get the psychology right for the book.
Hmm.
When you were doing a deep dive into the Jack the Ripper stuff, was that difficult that you at all for any
It
of that sort of? I'd imagine it was, but maybe for you it wasn't.
it was very interesting. I mean, I was really into the lore of Jack the Ripper anyways, so I had to research basically the way Jack talked, because we did keep even though it is historical fiction, we kept a lot of it on, like, actually, like, this victim died then. Peter, we redid the letter, on the t-shirt that we sold. It's actually the wanted poster that they had of them. We just made, a print of that as well. So there was a lot of research just getting into, the mind of him, and then, reading the Dear Boss letter over and over and over again to try to put myself in the head of somebody that would do this and then write the police. You know what I mean? And get myself into a point where I could feel like I could speak for this absolutely insane man that was around in 1888, 1891, times like that. Having to find out the number of murders, the specific days that each murder occurred. So I mean, there was a lot to it, and poor Peter, as my artist, he was having to look up, how did they dress, what did brothels look like, what did the streets look like, how, so there was that we put so much research, and luckily it was such an interesting topic that it didn't really seem like work. But you're reading, who did they think that it was now, and so it was a lot of work, but it was really, really, fulfilling to read about all of that. Peter probably had it worse than I did, because he was looking at like corsets how did prostitutes dress in late
Well, I'd imagine,
1800s?
when I had Peter on the show, he was talking about looking up the murder scene pictures of
Yes.
some of these
Hmm.
victims, and they're horrific.
Yes, yes. He was
And
looking up the street names that they happened on and then trying to go and find if there was any illustration from back then that kind of showed what the I mean, we really did try to keep it as true as we could with the reality of this happened, but the whole why it happened is what we changed. But we still tried to stick very much to this day, this victim, this street, this is what they were wearing, this is how they spoke. We try to keep their dialect to as close as we could to the way they would have spoken. And like I read some, books from that were written in, novels that were written back in the late 1800s, just so I could try to pick up some of the dialect that they spoken. Because
mm,
hey, I'm American. I don't speak. You hear me and Peter talk. It's obvious we're not from the same place, anyways. Their dialect is different than ours. Now you go back, to the late 1800s and try to pick up the dialect. Like, I'll cut you, you slag. Like, I didn't know what a slag. Well, what the heck is a slag? I do now, but I had no idea what that was. So it was, like I said, it was a lot of work to try to keep it as realistic as we could, yet at the same time, again, it was really fun to do it. So it didn't really seem like work.
what was it tricky for you to kind of write a character in which you're having sympathy for the devil? Like you're turning this psychopathic, cruel, calculating figure, which is like you said, we were talking about. It's a mysterious figure still. They still don't know 100% who it is.
Right.
Was it difficult for you to turn that character into someone who was going to be essentially like the hero
Yes.
of the story?
Yes, because you have to. It's hard to take somebody like Jack the Ripper, who is just a monster, a freaking monster, and give a reason to why and turn him into somebody that you can understand. Because in the book, it's not him killing these women. It's the Highgate vampire that's doing it, or the prostitutes that are doing it. The vampiric prostitutes that are actually doing it. So it's not him. He's just a guy that ended up in the. I mean, he's crazy. I still wrote him as a dude is absolutely insane, but it's you know what I mean? Like he's not the bad guy, and you're taking this person that you have been, taught from the time you were old enough to learn about Jack the Ripper what a monster he is, and trying to make him into kind of a good guy. In the book, he's crazy, crazy, and his methods are absolutely bonkers,
So
like
you're almost writing Jack the Ripper as if he's like the ultimate patsy.
yes, yes, that's yes. So he's chasing after the Highgate vampire. And at the same time, the cops are chasing after him, thinking that he's doing what the Highgate vampire is doing. So he's completely in our book. He's pretty much innocent. You know what I mean? He's actually trying to. The women that he does kill in the book, he's trying to. They're vampires. He's trying to stop them from hurting other people. He knows what they are. He knows they're vampires, and he knows that as long as they're around, they're killing more people. So he genuinely is a patsy and the good guy of the book. Even though, again, like in book one, he actually gets one of the vampires and straps her down to a table and is talking about how he wants to cut her open so he can see how she works. Because he's trying to figure out what is going on in her body. That, is there can I find a cure in her? So he's got this woman that's not dead. She's a vampire, so she's still alive, and she's got pieces of her hanging out, like coming off that,
Yeah,
where he's
well,
like,
vivisection, right? Still a common practice for some
right?
scientists. Or so they call themselves.
Right. So, yeah, he recognizes one of the victims has been bitten. So he's going to try to kill her before she turns because he knows where this is going. He knows she's going to turn into a vampire and kill probably tons of men that are coming into that brothel. So, yeah, it was interesting to take a character
That's a
like
deep dive, Mandy. That's very far from Wart the Wizard.
that. Right? Yeah, it's a little different. But that when Peter asked me if that was something I was interested in doing, I mean, and then he showed me some of the artwork from it, and I'm like, dude, I can do this, and we have to do this. I mean, we have to do this. So yeah, Peter's artwork is just so beautiful in the book. It's so dark and gothic and just yeah, it's so amazing. His artwork is just phenomenal in this book. So yeah, it was. But as soon as he told me the idea, I was like, dude, we've got to do this. There's no way we cannot do this. So yeah, it was very different from Wart the Wizard, but really really fun. Like so much, we're gonna keep it going. Like I said, at some point, I'd like to bring in as the storyline closes with Jack, keep that idea going with the paranormal. Maybe bring in because like in the like book 2, we do have a witch now that's entered the battlefield a little bit. So we'd like to focus a little bit more on different paranormal horror type stuff that we can bring into it just to keep it going. Just because Peter loves horror anyways, so I mean, I have a lot of ideas rolling around for different things we can do to continue.
How many books do you have planned?
Right now we're on 3. Because I pop around so much from different projects. So I know what I want to do with book 3, and I'm tinkering a little bit with maybe what I want to do with book 4. But with these, what's really cool about it is with these, we can close the storyline and then open a new one. Like we can keep it going that way. So we can finish one up. Like we can finish up the Jack the Ripper part and then start something new, maybe in America, which I can't tell you how because then I'm going to give away a huge spoiler. But there's a way that we can do it to where, maybe the next book is going to be in America and start going on a little bit more of American lore within vampires. Because right now we're hitting up book 2, like I said, they're in Paris. At the exact same time that all of that was going on with Jack the Ripper in Paris, they were having the first World Fair. So that was happening at the same time. Yep. Which, is a huge thing. So in book 2, we're able to really add in, like we have the fair where, and Peter about killed me when I gave him the script for this, but it's like a house of mirrors.
Oh no, even worse.
Where there's a fight going on in a house of mirrors, and we have like the carousel that's going, but they're not. It's like it's not a normal carousel. It's like all of the horses on it are dead and just I mean it's really cool though. It was really cool to be able to move it around, and like I said, we have other ideas for how we can continue moving it from place to place to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting with the artwork, constantly be swapping up the artwork, swapping up that because we're dealing with paranormal, we're dealing with vampires. Time really doesn't matter to a vampire, right? I mean, what's 100 years to a vampire's nothing. 200 years, okay, 300. So we're able to jump around a timeline with these characters as well, which is going to make it super super fun to be able to pop here, pop there, and keep it going.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you guys have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, Peter doesn't kill me first. I may become a ghost myself if I give Peter another hall of mirrors. He's gonna.
I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, Jack the Ripper has another victim.
Right.
Um, and Peter, everyone's gonna look at you first, Mister Peter Gilmore. So you
Yeah,
better not do a thing.
yeah.
Mandy, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this before you go. You got a couple minutes, but after doing all of this deep diving into Jack the Ripper,
hmm
what are your thoughts in reality as to who did it?
So I think it was, and I can't think of his name, but I think it was the Polish barber, the barber guy, is exactly who I think did it. My brain is going like numb right now to what his name actually was, but I'm pretty sure it was the barber. The It seems like that would have been like I get like everything leads me to believe it was him.
Why in particular?
Just he was already crazy. Like everybody that knew him knew he was crazy. He knew like how to use the surgical tools. It was him. It was absolutely 150% him. Now in our book, we have him in a mask because we wanted to keep that mystery alive with maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't him. You know what I mean? So we did not want to show his face. And we never do. His face is not shown in any of it. But this guy, yeah, there we go. Wrote into it. Aaron Kasaminski. See, that's why I can't remember his name. Kasaminski or whatever. And they're saying DNA, and I did read that too, that they did a DNA test. So, but even before I knew about the DNA test, he was their number one suspect, anyways, and it makes absolute sense that
I think he's a patsy.
you think he's a patsy?
I think he's a
Maybe,
big time patsy.
maybe he
I think
was.
it's upper echelon nobility.
Yes,
Yeah,
maybe he
yeah.
very much could have been. But yeah, I think that it was him. Everything leads to him, and like the chat saying, they did do DNA, but again, we kept you know, maybe he was a patsy. You don't know unless you read Jack
Yeah,
the Ripper
yeah.
Vampire Hunter,
That's
because we
that's the
kept it a
unfortunate
mystery.
part, and I think that's why the mystery will continue is because, and this is why I'm so feeling that it is not that guy, is because it should be more conclusive, and it's just still there's still too many plot holes and there's too much ambiguity around it. And I feel like that's why this is always going to be a mystery and intriguing to people. And that's 100% too why I also feel like it is someone that they are protecting in some way, shape, or
Right,
form. Even though they're gone, they're dead. Whoever it was at this point
right.
is not around anymore. But the ramifications of being connected to this individual would still hit.
Right. Now, I still like. I think it was him. Granted, I do believe it was probably him that did it. At the same time, I don't think anybody will ever. Nobody really wants to say that, because if we knew 100%, then the mystery dies, and half the fun with Jack the Ripper is the mystery,
Oh,
the
yeah.
never, the unsolvable who done it. You know what I mean? So it's funner to. I mean, I know that sounds horrible because we're talking about a man that just murdered
Yeah.
11 women, but at the same time, the ever going, who did it? Who was he? So that makes it fun to me. I mean, granted, he was a monster, but it does make it more fun with the idea of who, you know, maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't him. So yeah, that's why Peter and I did leave the mask on. When we were discussing everything about it, we decided let's never reveal it, because that's half the fun with the story of Jack the Ripper. Is it's still, even though like the chat said there was DNA testing done, at the same time, was he a patsy? Do we really know,
Oh,
or
yeah.
was
I
he
mean,
a time
it's
traveler, like the chat saying, like time
it'd be
traveling? And
yeah, and the DNA thing, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, that is very easy to plant that DNA or say that that's connected. You know, if
Exactly.
you're doing a cover up and you want something that makes it sound more conclusive in the modern era, man, what better way than to say, yeah, the DNA.
That's it way, obviously.
And
DNA.
then, yeah, well, that's the scary part. And this is a whole episode for a different day, but that's the scary part with everybody going like, oh man, you can figure out my ancestry if I just give you some of my DNA.
Right?
I sure
Yeah, I
hope you
mean,
never frame me for a horrible crime whenever you feel like it.
I know, right? Yeah, it keeps the mystery of Jack the Ripper alive. And like the chat say, I mean, there's so many you can go with that, with a royal conspiracy theory, perhaps,
Yeah,
maybe. I mean,
that's part of the fun, right? Is that it's
mhm.
with like you said, it's horrible to say it
It's
that
it's
way,
horrible to say it
but
that way, but I mean, at this point, it's been so long ago. I mean, we are talking about late 1800s, so even though it's real, it definitely really happened. At this point, it doesn't. You can feel a disconnect, I guess, because it's been so long ago that there's that disconnect where it's more like a lore now as opposed to
yeah,
a
I hear you.
tragic. And it was absolutely tragic that all of these families had to go and identify, their loved ones. But at the same time, it was Pete.
It was me.
It was, you
I'm the
did it.
Ripper.
You
We
time
need
traveled.
like Clue alternate endings.
You time traveled from back then
The
and
Butler
started
did
making
it.
comics. So yeah, I think that adds some of the intrigue to the story, to have it to where you don't know who it is. And we, like I said, we did keep it like that throughout the books. We will never give away who it is, because I mean, DNA testing, that was some old evidence they DNA tested. So Peter and I kind of like to think that maybe he's still out there as a vampire. Maybe he turned. So
You never know. You never know. Mandy, thank you so much. This
no,
was a
thank
great
you for having
conversation. A lot of
me.
fun tonight on some very peculiar subject matter. But man, it was
It
fun. I hope you
was.
guys in the chat had fun too. Thank you guys for your questions, your comments, your participation. Always appreciated. Mandy, before we go, where can they find you?
So you can find me on my channel. It's Mandy Summers. On Friday night, Shane Davis and I and Dale Keown do a show called Ballers, sideshow. So we alternate between my channel and his. So every Friday night you can find us over there. Yeah, and we do promo streams on my channel. We do gaming streams, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So definitely go and sub to my channel if you're not already, please, and come hang out with me every once in a while. You can find me over at Twitter at Wort the Wizard. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on MySpace.
Wait, did you say you're on MySpace?
I made a MySpace.
I'm like,
I
am I
want
having
it
a
back.
stroke on stream
No,
here?
I want to bring MySpace back. We did Tom dirty. Tom gave us
I
our
agree.
own music. Tom didn't ask that. He friended us when we made your account. We had a friend. I don't feel like I have a friend with Zuckerberg. Do you feel like Zuckerberg's your friend?
No, I
I
left
don't
him.
either.
Well, sort of, kind of.
Tom,
I
Tom was
don't
our
think you can
friend.
actually leave Zuckerberg.
No, he'll never let
He'll
you.
find you.
Yeah, he'll never let you leave. That's a whole paranormal experience with Zuckerberg on it. That's a whole nother topic with him. But yeah, I do have a MySpace page, so
All right.
it's
Mandy's
ridiculous, but
bringing
it's there.
MySpace back. Look at
I'm bringing
that.
it back, you guys.
Yes, so go find her go friend her on MySpace. Is it friending? Is that what it is? Is that what it was?
It
I
is.
can't remember.
It is.
Yeah, on
Some
MySpace.
I have some famous people in my top 10 over there. So
There you go. Man. All right. Well, and if you guys want to see any of the projects that Mandy's got in the works, and including that Christmas bundle that ends today, go check out the description of the show. The links are all there. Other than that, if you enjoyed the show, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. We got lots of great interviews on this channel. As you could tell, this is episode 137, so we got 136 other ones that you might have missed, and we'll have many more to come. I'll be back here on Tuesday night. with Fabrizio Aiello of Horace H. Hoover. I think I know that guy. Published by Alterna Comics. I've heard some giant a-hole publishes at Alterna.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard he's a real stickler, that guy.
Horrible.
Just horrible to work with. Yeah, I know.
But Fabrizio's great. Fabrizio's great. But the publisher, Anyway, so I'll be back here on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful evening and an even better tomorrow. See you guys soon.